And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition. I don't know if I'm going to call this ManzMaker. That was the show we were doing through the regular season, talking DFS. This is something else. I don't have a name for it yet, but I do have a truly prestigious guest. This is a man, he is Mr. High Stakes. He is the host and producer of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hours. He is Mr. Media Relations at the FFPCs. And of course, he does the High Stakes Lowdown podcast over with our friends at the Roto Jizzers, Mr. Eric Balkman. Welcome to the program.
This is a long time coming. I'm glad to be on with you tonight. This is fantastic.
Look at this, dude. We are two men that have our name on a hat. That's how you know you're a real man.
Yeah, I wasn't a real man until I got the hat, and now it made me. So I'm happy to have it.
So was Bulky? Was that a middle school nickname, high school nickname? When did that start to stick?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly when it happened. It was probably it definitely wasn't in middle school or high school, because this Bulky's a cool name, and I didn't become cool until I hit my 20s, and then obviously I became uber cool when I got the hat.
Dude, you're like the George Clooney of fantasy football. You keep aging gracefully, getting more and more attractive. You got this nice stubble going on. You're this grizzled man living in, where are you, in Wisconsin?
In Wisconsin, yeah, absolutely. You need the stubble, otherwise your face freezes when you go outside. I mean, you know how that is.
I do. I'm a man who, it's like a 2 o'clock shadow. I shave and I have so much testosterone that my face just bulges immediately with facial hair.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, I think, like, when I wasn't, if there's ever a time I'm like not in Wisconsin, I can't grow anything. But because of, like, normal human evolution, it's just like when you're in this negative 20 degree below area in the summer, your face just sprouts the facial hair. Make sure you don't lose your skin.
Are you the kind of Wisconsinite that grabs, an axe, goes out into the woods, gets the firewood? Are you that kind of man?
Yeah, I mean, we all are. I mean, how else are you going to stay warm? We don't have indoor plumbing here. We don't have electricity. Like, the internet is kind of new to us. So this is a huge deal to, in winter, make sure you get stored up with all your wood and make sure that you're not going to freeze to death.
And where are you recording? Like, the backdrop, it looks like you're recording out of a high school basketball coach's basement office.
I actually broke in. This is my high school coach's basketball office right now. I couldn't get the internet going at my house. I kept clicking on the dial up on AOL. It didn't happen for whatever reason. So I snuck into coach's office. He's off in the film room right now. So I'm good for like 20-25 minutes yet.
Excellent. So, and for those of you who aren't familiar with Balky's, like I said, he's Mr. High Stakes. You guys know me from my famous High Stakes video. Everything I do is high stakes. So everything they do at the FFPC, it really speaks to me. Although I did talk to your boss, Mr. Kaganovsky's, about having $1 million buy-in. That would kind of more suit my speed. Is that in the works over there?
It wasn't until you brought it up, and now the wheels are in motion. So I don't know, you probably have naming rights to it. Like, when we actually offer it, yeah, we'll leave it up to you, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah, it'll be called the Man's Million, and just kind of rolls off the tongue. And, yeah, you guys, what did you give out? First place in your high stakes contest this year, $250,000?
Yeah, it was our main event, $250,000, yeah.
And what was the name of the winner, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot?
It was a pair of brothers, Greg.
Collusion.
Yeah, Greg and David Zwickel were this year's title winners, so congrats to them.
Dude, and I'm telling you, I saw these guys line up, and I believe they had the 3 stud running backs, just like last year, 3 stud running backs. Me and the guys at Roto Jizz, we're these 0 RB guys, and the
right.
FFPC just keeps hammering us with these bell cow backs over and over again.
Yeah, it happened last year too. Like, and it wasn't like, it was a little bit different this year because these guys didn't go running back to start. It just sort of like their team naturally fell into, it just made sense to start 4 running backs down the stretch, and it worked out. Last year's champs, David Hubbard and Nelson Sousa, they started off with 3 straight running backs in their draft. They stayed healthy all season, and it paid off. It doesn't always work that way, but the last 2 years, it's worked pretty good for those guys.
Excellent. So if you are tuning in for tonight, what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little wild card football. We got 4 nice matchups. We're also going to talk about this playoff challenge the FFPC does, because these guys over at the FFPC, they're like drug dealers, right? They give you the contest for the regular season, and then it's over, and you're coming back and you're like, I need some more fantasy. And they go, look, good. I'll sell you this little playoff contest. And we are going to talk about this playoff contest. I believe it has to be the biggest prize pool for a playoff contest that I know of. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know of a bigger one. I mean, if there is, it's unbeknownst to me. This is a $600,000 prize pool, and it pays down to 550 spots. So 550 guys are going to split up that 600 grand. First place is going to get $100,000, and you can actually, I said this earlier today, you can actually finish outside the top 100 and still pull in 1,000 off this. So it's pretty deep for the payouts too.
That's right. So we will get into that. We'll describe the structure. Maybe we'll build a team a little bit. Let's first talk, though, about some of these matchups. We are looking at the slate. That's what we do here. We break down the slate. Balky and I are going to pull out the all-22 film. We're going to be talking about the offensive guard pulls, the defensive line stunts, all of that. Is that correct, Mr. Cosell? I mean, Mr. Balkies.
Yeah, I mean, that's when we scrape the surface. We'll get in a little bit deeper than that, too, later on, if there's enough time.
That's right. That's right. And I also would be remiss. We are live. If you are in the chat, you have any questions for Balky, for myself, let us know. We will respond. I know fan engagement is all the rage. I know I have a hard time keeping track of all the messages that come in sometimes. So just be a little, give me some leeway, okay? And I will get to your question. But right now, let's get to this first matchup. I don't know, is there anyone on the planet that is giving the Titans a chance against the Chiefs?
Well, I'll tell you what. If they do pull this one off, it's going to be, because they finally gave Derrick Henry, 25, 30 touches. This is something like fantasy owners who drafted Derrick Henry semi-high. I mean, he was a big 0 RB guy coming into this season too. This is something that fantasy owners have been waiting all season. DeMarco Murray's out. It's the Derrick Henry show. If they can control the clock and Henry ends up going crazy for 120, 130 total yards, a couple of touchdowns, they got a shot. I just don't know how they're going to slow down Kelsey and Hill on the outside.
Yeah, they got a lot of firepower. Also, if the Chiefs win, it's setting up nicely for that rematch of the Chiefs and Patriots. So it does seem like everything in the world is conspiring against the Titans. I don't give them much of a chance. Another team no one is giving a chance to, these Bills, dude. They're driving down. I see these guys, my dude, Barry Noyce, Joe Noax, he's a friend of the FFPC, dude. He's road tripping from Buffalo down to Jacksonville. By the way, he would want me to point out they're using the hashtag Jizz on the Jags. So if you want to get in on that road trip hashtag, there you go. Do these Bills, these plucky Bills, 17 years not in the playoffs, Bills have a chance this week.
Hey, listen, if I can come on your show, there's a chance for anything to happen. So, yeah, I mean, the Bills got a chance. I certainly would not put money on the Bills winning this at all. I don't see that happening. LaShawn McCoy's dinged up right now. They're signing guys off the practice squad. They're signing guys to the practice squad because their running back depth is so bad. You have Kelvin Benjamin banged up. I don't know. I think Buffalo, if they're going to make some noise, I still think they're probably a year away. I don't know if they can get it done this weekend.
Dude, everyone's the Bills are, this is their first time. That's supposed to be all new. I feel like the Jags are not acting like they've been there before. I see Darren Rovell's tweeting out that they're going to have green beer in the stadium. I mean, this is I think, the alarm bells should be going off for the Jags of we're taking this a little too seriously if we're pissing in our beer to turn it green.
And they haven't been there before, quite frankly. I mean, this is not a team that's accustomed to the playoffs and doing it year in and year out. You have a great defense. You have a great running back. You have Blake Bortles, who seems to be making enough plays to make it happen. I mean, I think they definitely have the firepower and the talent to get it done this weekend. It's divisional weekend that I would worry about Jacksonville.
And we're going to talk about the playoff challenge and where you go with players from each team. But I'll tell you where I won't go, and that's the wide receiver core with the Jags, dude. They got like 19 guys over there. There's guys from Ireland named Jaden Mickens scoring touchdowns. I mean, what do you do with this Jags wide receiver crew?
Yeah, stay far away from it for the playoff challenge. I don't, there's something to be said for being contrarian. Everybody wants to be contrarian and find that one guy that's really going to make a difference. I don't think it's Keelan Cole or Dede Westbrook or Hearns or any of the Mickens. Marquise Lee. I don't think it's any of these guys that are going to take you to the promised land at the top of the leaderboard. So I would not be touching any of these guys. One of them is probably going to go off. I have no idea which one it's going to be.
Dude, at this pace, I mean, Allen Robinson is going to have to emerge from the stadium and say, no, I'm playing too. They need to have 19 wide receivers. It is their destiny. So I don't think we're going to see an upset from the AFC wildcard side. I think if we do see an upset, it's going to be on the NFC between the Falcons and the Panthers, the two underdogs based on seed. Who do you like to have the best chance at an upset?
I like the Saints to go deep into the playoffs, so it seems weird to say this, but I think the Panthers actually have a better shot of beating New Orleans this weekend in New Orleans than Atlanta does of going across the country and beating the Rams. So I think that, you're talking about two playoff tested quarterbacks and Drew Brees and Cam Newton playing in that game. I think either of those teams could win. I think it's going to be the best game of the weekend. I think Cam Newton could put up a fight and keep it close until the fourth quarter, but I think Brees and Kamara and Ingram, Thomas, all those guys end up pulling out the victory later on. I think Atlanta's a broken team. I think the Rams and the Falcons are headed in opposite directions, and the Rams are much more destined for the divisional playoff than Atlanta is.
Yeah, it should be interesting. The thing that scares me as I'm looking to build my FFPC playoff roster, I like the Rams. Everybody likes the Rams, but they are going to go on the road to Minnesota. Outdoors, your close proximity out there, their division rival to your Packers. That could be a tough spot outdoors for them, right?
That's going to be rough. I mean, like that, you look at that game and it's just like you're having a young quarterback go on the road, a young running back and Todd Gurley facing a pretty awesome defense. And Case Keenum, I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it week in and week out. He's looking real good. That rushing attack, even without Dalvin Cook, that 1-2 punch of Murray and McKinnon looks good. And Adam Thielen looks like a world beater at receiver. Stephon Diggs is still making plays. Kyle Rudolph gets this week off to rest that foot, so hopefully he comes back. With a vengeance. That's another tool or another weapon that Case Keenum is going to have at his disposal too. I don't know we're looking ahead a little bit, but if we are, I think Minnesota actually gets it done against Los Angeles next weekend, if that's the way it plays out.
I like it. I like that call. Let's now talk about this playoff challenge. You've heard us reference it. If you aren't familiar, it is $100,000 up top. And I am going to try to break it down. Balky is going to fill in the holes that I miss. It is a $200 entry. How many entries can you put in? As many as you want?
Yeah, as many as you want. There's no cap on that.
No cap on that, so knock yourself out. Go wild. There are 10 spots. It's the traditional FFPC roster, which is a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, a kicker, and the defense. Of everyone in this industry is trying to get rid of kickers, defenses, but not the FFPC. They're holding strong. They're traditionalists. They have values, and those values includes kickers. And then a few other wrinkles here is you can only pick one player from every team. No doubling up, no Brady and Gronk. You got to pick one or the other. And on top of that, then you get double points for your players that make it to the Super Bowl. So if you have Brady and then a running back, let's say Brady and Kamara, they make it to the Super Bowl, you're getting double points from those guys. So obviously incentivized to get the guys that get the most games and make it to the Super Bowl. Were there any other wrinkles I missed to this playoff challenge?
Well, I mean, if people who aren't familiar with the FFPC scoring, it's a tight end premium format. So tight ends will get 1.5 points per catch. So that's another little wrinkle that you could throw into it. If you wanted to form a team with like Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, and Rob Gronkowski, you could do that as well. I mean, you could stick 3 tight ends out there. Those are all three high volume tight ends, what we've seen this season. So I'm sure there's going to be a few teams doing that as well. But on that, you pretty much nailed it, man. I mean, it's going to come down to the Super Bowl. You got to have 2 guys going in the Super Bowl. If you miss out on that, you're probably not going to get the $100,000. And you got to pick the right guys in the Super Bowl too. Brady and Kamara seems really good now. And if the Patriots and Saints make it that far, that might end up being a big payday. Well, let's see what happens. Maybe Ingram is the play. Maybe it's Michael Thomas if the Saints get there. Maybe it's even Drew Brees. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go.
And I think that's what makes this contest fun because, eventually the hive mind, the group mind, they're going to all focus on a few plays. I think this year we're going to see some extremely high ownerships. I'm thinking of Gurley and Fournette in particular. I'm thinking those guys could be 85% owned. Do you think that's too high? Am I going crazy?
You might see it with Gurley because I don't know if there's anybody else on that team you'd feel real comfortable with. I mean, you could be contrarian and go with like Robert Woods or Kupp or, Goff or somebody like that. But I think you probably have to have Gurley in there if you want to win it. The thing that I'll bring up about Jacksonville is we already talked about it. We're not touching the receivers, obviously not tight ends. And I don't know anybody who's going to pick Blake Bortles. I mean, I'm sure there will be some people, but I don't know if that's the path to victory. It's going to come down to Fournette and the Jags defense. And I think a lot of people will take that Jaguars defense, given the fact that they're going to be playing this battered Buffalo Bills team, or not the team, but McCoy coming in a little hobbled, Kelvin Benjamin coming in a little hobbled. So I think there's a lot of people on the Jags defense. There's going to be a lot of people on Fournette as well. So I would say that you're probably right, and Gurley might be the highest owned guy of this whole competition. I don't think Fournette will be as owned as Gurley, but he'll still be a pretty popular choice.
Yeah, I know some dudes looked at the ownership percentages last year. Last year, Ezekiel Elliott was the highest owned at 82%. And I would argue Gurley's coming off of a better season in a better spot. He could definitely push 90%. So that's where we get into what people call game theory here. Where are we pivoting? Where are we being contrarian? So that's going to be very interesting. I think a few of the other very high owned guys, I think Brady is going to be very high owned. Obviously, you could go to Gronk, maybe Cooks, but people are going to want that safety of Brady. I'm curious, what do you think is going to happen with this? The Saints and the Chiefs are really the kind of two interesting clusters for me because you have, Kamara, Ingram, Thomas, Breeze, and then with the Chiefs, you have Kelsey, Hill, Hunt, Smith. So do you think that will concentrate to, say, Kelsey and Kamara, or do you think they'll all cannibalize each other and it'll be spread out?
I think there's going to be a lot of Kelsey. I think there's going to be a lot of Kareem Hunt out there, and there's probably going to be several more than several, but a decent amount of Tyreek Hill teams as well. I don't know how many people are going to be on Harrison Butker or the Chiefs defense. And then the Saints, I think, I mean, Kamara seems like such a chalky pick that I think you're going to see a lot of Breeze, Ingram, and Michael Thomas there as well. So I think that will, fan out a little bit more so than Kansas City. But I think for Kansas City, it's probably the majority is going to be Kelsey, and there's going to be a lot of Kareem Hunt as well.
Do you recall what the winning lineup last year? I know obviously it was a Falcons and a Patriot. I want to say was Edelman on the winning lineup last year?
Yeah, I don't remember offhand everybody on it, but I know for sure Julian Edelman was on that winning lineup for sure.
And I think that's the key. It's finding the Super Bowl team and then probably not the most popular player on that team. Because last year, Gronk was out for the playoffs. Some fishes, I don't want to name fingers, were on Blunt, which was dumb. But Edelman, yeah. So there is going to be a guy like that. Maybe it's a Brandon Cooks, maybe it's Mark Ingram while everyone goes to Kamara. But you got to find that team and then also go a little different from the herd. You got to break out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't, like I said, you don't want to go too contrarian and pick, like Rex Burkhead or Gillislee or something like that. But, certainly I know there's going to be a lot of high stakes guys that are on Deion Lewis. I think that they think that, the way that his volume has trended at the end of the season, he could be a real difference maker in the playoffs. And remember, there's some buzz out there that Tom Brady is not, he had a great season, but he's not making all the throws and doing everything that he was the last couple of years. So maybe Brady, you take a step back a little bit and ride Deion Lewis too. I mean, there's something to be said for that. And obviously with the 1.5 per catch for tight end scoring, Gronk is going to be a super popular player as well. And there's going to be a few teams that like that big boom potential of Brandon Cooks who can, take an 80-yard catch to the house just like that, and all of a sudden his week is made. So the Patriots, there's a lot of different ways you could go.
For sure. Who is, do you have your Super Bowl pick, the two teams? I know you said you like the Saints.
I do like the Saints. I think the NFC is wide open and that they would probably be my pick right now. I tend to trust the teams with the more battle-tested quarterbacks, even though they aren't going to be playing at home. They're going to be going to Philadelphia, Minnesota, places like that. To try to get to the Super Bowl. I still think I like the Saints best. And then over in the AFC, it's real difficult to go against the Patriots right now. So I guess I would say Patriots, Saints, but it would not shock me at all to see the Steelers there. I think the Steelers might be the second best team right now in the playoffs. So it'll be an interesting AFC championship if that's the way it shapes up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Antonio Brown gets healthy. Obviously, a big loss there. When you look at the Steelers' projected path, it's pretty tough. If the Jags win, you're playing the best pass defense at home. And then if you beat that, you're most likely going on the road to Foxborough. So they will definitely need to play at the top of their game, probably need Antonio Brown's back into the fold. Speaking of which, we got our boy Jason Antilles in the chat. He's got a few little nuggets for us. He's going with Steelers-Vikings. Steelers-Vikings. I know you're a bit of a Steelers homer, Jason, so I don't know with how much salt of which to take that pick, but hey, I like it. We like the Steelers, the Vikings. Now that's interesting. That's the matchup I'm very excited about. If the Rams win and go on the road to Minnesota, we were talking about that earlier. Let's circle back to the playoff challenge. Kicker and defense. We got to talk about it because it's a thing. Tell us a little bit about, like I said, DraftKings. They've gotten rid of kickers. Lots of leagues on other sites have gotten rid of them. What are your thoughts in the FFP standpoint on keeping kickers alive?
Yeah, we love them. We love kickers. We, make kickers matter, and that's what we do with the FFPC. So I think there's an extra level of strategy. I don't think it's like all necessarily luck. I think that there's a certain measure of picking the right guy on any given week, and not just necessarily for the playoff challenge, but streaming kickers properly in the FFPC. I think you got to look at what defenses are doing against certain offenses. I think that there's a pattern that can develop. I think you can look at guys who have had a history of really performing well in certain situations, and seeing which way teams are trending. I think that makes a lot of sense to keep kickers around, and that's why we continue to do it. I still think it's when we come to the playoff challenge, I still think it's kind of a throwaway position, but if you hit that right kicker for this, that can make a huge difference in moving up the leaderboard.
I like it. I like it. See if maybe somebody gets crazy, maybe a little Gostowski. Who needs Brady and Gronk when you can put Gostowski at kicker?
Well, and think about it too. If New England plays somebody like Minnesota with a real dominating defense in the Super Bowl, maybe it's Gostowski who's the MVP and he kicks like 5 field goals and New England wins 15-10 or something like that. I mean, that's certainly possible. Maybe not probable, but I'm sure there will be Gostowski teams out there.
That's the other thing. So there's 30. Is it maxed out at 3,500 entries?
Yeah, 3,500, and then it's capacity and it's cut off.
That's right. So you're going to have lots of the chalky lineups as we've discussed, but then like Balky's saying, you're going to get some weirdos out there. You're going to get some Gostowski guys. You're going to get some guys doing some weird. How about this? What are the odds we see a Marcus Mariota lineup?
Hey, it'll happen. There's going to be people that put. The thing is, like Wildcard weekend, we haven't seen it in the last couple of years. But there's been times where a team gets hot and then rides that wave of success all the way from wildcard weekend into the Super Bowl. And if you can nail that guy that's going to get wildcard weekend, divisional weekend, championship weekend, and the Super Bowl, get those 4 games, that's huge. And Mariota certainly, I think Tennessee's got the talent. They just really haven't put it together yet. And I don't think that they do it this year. But if they do and somebody picks Mariota, they're going to be, loving life when it gets to be Super Bowl time.
Here's the deal. If you win the FFPC challenge with Mariota, actually, if you cash a team with Mariota, you get a free invite onto this program for an interview about your sick, twisted, beautiful mind. That is my promise to you if you can cash with Marcus Mariota. So there's a little added incentive if you want to hop in and use Marcus Mariota. We got Jason in the chat saying Kai Forbath will kick at home 3 games. Oh, did I completely miss that? Or the Super Bowl is in Minnesota?
Yeah, it's weird because I think Philly has the #1 seed. So if Minnesota wins their divisional matchup and Philadelphia wins, they have to go to Philly, but then they go back home. If they win that game, they'll essentially be kicking at home. Forbath will. So that's another interesting wrinkle too that we haven't really dealt with before, of a team potentially having a pretty high percentage or high probability of playing the Super Bowl in their home stadium.
Very interesting. Have you been to this new stadium? You're obviously relatively close in proximity.
I have not. No, this would be brand new for me I've heard it's gorgeous from all my cohorts in Minnesota. They say it's awesome. Everything I've seen on TV, it looks pretty good. I think it'll be a great venue for the Super Bowl. Has fantasy ruined your traditional fandom, or do you still bleed green and gold? Nah, man, I've never bled green and gold. I like the Packers. I think they're great. I cheer for them on Sundays. I am not a diehard Packer fan. I don't live and die. There's a lot of people in Northeast Wisconsin, man, where whether the Packers win or lose, that is how their week is set up. Whether Green Bay can pull out a win, it's going to be the best week ever. If they lose, it's terrible. I am not like that at all. So I'm thankful for fantasy where I can root for my teams and still cheer for the Packers. But when they lose and when they get, Rodgers out for 7 weeks with a collarbone issue, I still have a chance to enjoy life.
There you go. That's the way to do it, dude. And I do have to ask, just as a guy who does still root for the Packers, what do you think about my boy Aaron Ripkowski's, dude, my favorite Packer?
Yeah, every year the this goes back decades. It always seems like they've had like a big, brutish, Midwestern type fullback that is awesome on special teams, can carry the occasional, handoff, 5, 6, 7 yards, and as a monster at the goal line. It was John Kuhn for many, many, many years here. Now it's Aaron Ripkowski. I think he's great. Everybody in Green Bay and Northeast Wisconsin definitely loves that guy.
Awesome. Well, to wrap this up, I wanted to pay a little homage to one of my favorite DFS shows, the Swolecast. They like to build DFS lineups each week. I thought you and me could alternate picks back and forth and build an FFPC playoff challenge lineup. How do you feel about that?
Let's do it. I can't wait. And to be gracious, I will let you have the first pick.
Oh, see, I was going to do the same thing to you, dude. I was going to try to be gracious.
Well, okay. It's up to you. It's your show. It's your show. I'll leave it up to you, man.
No, I'll take the first pick. I'll take the first pick, but I might in a way not take the first pick. I'm gonna take a kicker first. He's my favorite kicker on this slate. His last name literally translates to batshit. I'm gonna take Graham Gano.
Graham Gano? Hey, and that's another guy, like the Carolina team, man. I know I love New Orleans, but if Carolina gets hot, man, they could definitely go to the Super Bowl too. Anybody in the NFC is wide open. So Gano, I like it. Florida State guy. I'm a big Florida State fan, so this is kicking things off in the right way. I will shift conferences, and I will go to a guy who I think has been crushing it all season. He's going to do very well in this format, and I'm going to take Travis Kelce from the Chiefs as a tight end / flex. We'll see where our lineup goes, but I think Kelce is a good pick for this lineup.
I like it. Do you agree Kelce will probably be the most popular tight end in this contest?
I would say Zach Ertz would probably be a little bit more, but it's going to be close between him and Kelce. If I had to say, I would say Ertz, but Kelsey's going to be right up there with him.
That's true. It's tough because there's other options on the Chiefs, but on the other hand, I don't know what people want to do with these Eagles. It's a tough spot without Wentz, and yeah, Ertz is really the only viable play unless you want to go kicker or defense. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay, let me go to running back, and I am going to take, because I don't see how you get away from him. I don't want to play the Jags defense, because if you do play the Jags defense and the Jags defense does incredible, then on top of that, Fournette is going to probably do incredible if they're up a lot and they're running the ball. So I don't know how you get away from Fournette. I'm going to plug Fournette in.
All right, so you take Fournette. I'm going to stick still in the AFC. Now, this is going to be my interesting pick because I feel like Antonio Brown is going to be a little bit overowned. I'm a little bit nervous about this torn calf muscle. I know they say that if they were playing this weekend, he'd be listed as questionable. I have a feeling that he is going to play in the divisional round. I don't know how successful he's going to be. The guy I really like from Pittsburgh is a guy that I think has a breakout playoff performance. This is a guy that stepped in when Antonio Brown was hurt, didn't miss a beat with Big Ben. I like Juju Smith-Schuster as a guy that honestly is not – when you look at this format, there's going to be a lot of Brown teams. There's going to be a lot of Le'Veon Bell out there, and there's probably going to be some Roethlisberger. I don't know how many Juju Smith-Schuster teams are going to be. And this could be the guy. You don't want to go too chalky. You don't want to go too contrarian with your lineup. But I think when we look back on how these playoffs went, we're going to say, man, those Juju Smith-Schuster teams really did a lot of damage. So he's my pick for one of the wide receiver spots.
I like it. I like it a lot, especially because even if Antonio Brown does come back, Juju can still get his. The only thing that concerns me, and maybe it actually plays into Juju's hand, they're going against the Jags. They're going against the Pats, who like to take away a number one option. Maybe Juju is just eating in the slot, just eating all day. I love that call. Want to give a shout out. We got Mark Martin Poker in the chat saying, "Hi, Mans. Howdy from Australia. What is up, dude? Put another shrimp on the Barbie." They always say the Mans is international, and we have the pudding in the proof right there. Don't worry, Mark. I'm going to be doing some poker videos soon. I am going to be in Las Vegas. I'll use this as a plug. I'm going to be in Las Vegas next week for the divisional round, and I'll be hosting a Mans meetup poker game. I will get those details out soon, but thank you, Mark, for hopping in. Okay, the pick is back to me. We have Fournette, we have Juju, we have Kelce, and Gano. All right, so another guy that I think is very tough to build a lineup without is Julio Jones. I think wide receiver is a little weak this year. On top of that, I know Freeman is back from practice and should theoretically go, but there's so many other good running backs. And you're not using Matty Ryan because you can't really project a Super Bowl run. It's not a bad matchup for Julio. Like Fournette, just really hard for me not to take those points from Julio. I guess you could maybe go kicker. We already did kicker. So yeah, I don't know how I get away from him. Bulky, I'm going Julio.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing you have to keep in mind with Julio Jones too, they already are an underdog in Wildcard weekend. If they move on, You're going to be an underdog in the divisional round. They're going to be a dog all the way through. So you'd like to think that with Atlanta's defense not being the defense it was last year, they're going to have to be throwing more to catch up. So I think that if they're going to keep staying in these ball games, keep going deep into the playoffs, Julio Jones is going to have to be a big factor in that. I said that you don't want to be too chalky. Here's my chalk pick, because I think you just got to have this guy on your team. Could be the MVP. He could be, the offensive player of the year. He might be the Super Bowl MVP if the Rams get hot. So I'll go with Todd Gurley to go with Leonard Fournette as our running backs there. And obviously we can add more flex on later, but Gurley is the guy that I think you just have to have in your lineup.
I do. I agree. I tried to entertain maybe a Jared Goff. It gets really hard because if Goff succeeds, Gurley's most likely going to be succeeding. And I think he's going to be 90% owned. He might just be the bingo, the free square. Everybody takes it and we play 9v9. That just might be what we have to do. I like that pick. All right. So we are left with a QB, 2 flexes, and a defense. And QB, obviously, very interesting. Let's look at the teams we still have left to choose. We don't have a Saints. We don't have a Vikings. We don't have a Patriots. I'm gonna get our lineup very, very unique. You hinted at this at the beginning of the show, talking about the tight end premium in the FFPC, the 1.5 points. We already have Kelsey, but the flex allows us to do another tight end. I think a lot of people are going to be on Tom Brady. I'm going to take Rob Gronkowski's and give us that double hammer at tight end. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. I think that he is, when he's healthy, which he is right now. I mean, this is about as healthy as we've seen Gronk going into the playoffs before. So I think that this is should be a real strong playoffs for him as well. We're staying away from the top seeds. Up until then, we didn't have a Patriot, still not an Eagle, still not have a Viking. I think back a couple of years ago when Peyton Manning was facing the Seahawks, and nobody was really giving the Seahawks much of a shot. They're like a 6.5-point dog going into the Super Bowl. And it was that defense that absolutely crushed Manning, took everybody to the cleaners that whole postseason. And the team that won the FFPC playoff challenge that year had the Seattle defense in their lineup. A strong defense is important. And if you're looking at a team that could ride their defense all the way to the Super Bowl, it's the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings as the pick for our defense, which I believe leaves us with a flex and a quarterback now.
A flex and a quarter. I like that too. And, Minnesota, they make a lot of sense because if you take the Jags off the table because you want to go Fournette, I don't know what other slam dunk defensive play where you can get 2 games in 2 games where that defense is in a really good spot. Because you could go Chiefs defense if you want, I guess, against Titans, but then they're going to play the Patriots. So I love that call on Minnesota. Like you said, we are down to a quarterback and a flex, and I believe we need a Saint, and what else do we need? What's the other one? An Eagle. Yeah. Oh man. So now
we don't necessarily need them, but that's what I think we should roll with. We don't want to get too crazy tonight. It's not late enough to get too crazy.
There's really I don't think either of us want to go Nick Foles, right? So that pretty much ties our hand. I will do this. I like this. I'm going to take Drew Brees as our quarterback. I do like this because I think it's hard to decide between Michael Thomas is a good play and then Kamara and Ingram. I know Kamara is kind of the sexier, hotter name, but Ingram has been right there pound for pound, point for point this season. Drew Brees gives you exposure to all of those guys through the passing game, obviously Michael Thomas, and then you get Kamara and Ingram in the check down game. I like Brees. You like the Saints going deep. I like that call as well. Let's go Drew Brees and get access to all of that offense, including a dome game this week.
And you talk about Brees too. Everybody likes to talk about how it's been the Kamara and Ingram show all season long. And that has been true. But remember, Brees threw some touchdowns to both those guys. It's not like he's it's just Ingram and Kamara doing it on their own. Brees has had a part in that too. So I think that Brees call is good, which leaves us, I think we got to take an Eagle. I'm not looking at Nelson Aguilar. I'm not looking at Alshon Jeffrey. The backfield's kind of a mess. We obviously already took care of our quarterback, kicker, and defense. It seems obvious, but I think we got to go Zach Ertz here and take that second tight end as our flex and go with Ertz and Kelsey as our 2 tight ends that hopefully.
Nope. Dude, you're forgetting.
Or Gronk, excuse me. Gronk.
We got the 3.
Gronk, Kelsey, and Ertz. It seems so crazy to have it, but you're talking about 3 guys that are going to get a ton of targets. and teams that, you know, the number 1 seed in the AFC, number 1 seed in the NFC, Kelsey is the number 4 in the AFC. I mean, you like to think you get 2 games out of all those guys, maybe more with Ertz and Gronkowski. So we roll with the 3 tight ends. We ride or die with those, and we'll see what happens. But I like that lineup. I
do too. I think it's very unique, but not in a cutesy way. You know what I mean? How many, say we're going to cap this thing out at 3,500 lineups. How many lineups do you think will have 3 tight ends?
There will probably be, on a percentage basis, because those guys are so integral to their offenses, it probably does get into double digits, but I can't imagine more than 20% are going to have that, 3 tight ends. And you got to keep in mind too, there's probably going to be some teams that have 3 tight ends, but Kyle Rudolph might make his way in there instead of, one of those other guys. So, I mean, there's possibilities there. You also have Greg Olsen that we didn't talk about. And this is a guy too, that had that big blow up game against the Packers. That's probably going to cause him to be in some lineups as well. So I would say fewer than 20% will have 3 tight ends, maybe fewer than 15 or maybe fewer than 10 have those specific 3 tight ends.
Dude, I love it. I love it. I know with probably fair play, collusion, integral things, you can't have your name necessarily officially associated with this lineup. I will personally be submitting this lineup into the contest because I believe it is a good lineup. Don't go stealing my lineup, guys. Don't do it. There's plenty of pivots you can make. But Bulky, I appreciate you coming on the show. You guys got to check out the playoff challenge. How many spots are left? This thing is filling up fast.
Yeah, we started with 3,500 right now is the time we were recording this. I checked right before when I was just like 1,050 left. So get in now. I mean, it's going to sell out and you don't want to be waiting until Saturday afternoon and filling out a lineup last minute. Get in now. You can always change them before kickoff.
That's right. And especially after the man's bump gives the FFPC challenge that, little thing, this thing's going to sell out. Bulky, let's be sure to let everybody know where else they can find you and all that FFPC goodness. You guys doing the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour podcast throughout the off season? You guys taking a little hiatus?
No. It's year round. We keep going all year long. We have our Mike Beers, who won the Pros versus Joes challenge this year. He's going to be on Friday night, blogtalkradio.com/HSFF. You can download it on iTunes, whatever you want later. And then we'll have our main event champs in 2 weeks, next Friday. Greg and David Zwickel are going to come on. So we'll have a new guest every Friday throughout the year.
Excellent. And yeah, you guys be sure, if you haven't watched my video attending the high stakes draft in Vegas this September, it's on my channel. Scroll back a few videos from the FFPC. You'll get a taste of what it's like to draft live at the FFPC. We got these sticker girls, dude, these beautiful sticker girls, lots of money. It is a great time. They host excellent events. This FFPC playoff challenge is no different. So lots of good stuff there. Eric Balkman, you can also find him on Twitter at Eric Balkman. Thank you again so much for coming on the show, my dude.
Thanks, man. This was a lot of fun. I feel like you might have just won $100,000 tonight, too.
I think so. If I do, I'll fly out to wherever you are in the boondocks of Wisconsin. I'll take you out for a nice steak and blue cheese dinner, and it will be a delicious, delicious time.
All right, that sounds awesome. You're going to have to bring the seaplane to land on the frozen water here right now, but you'll find a way. With $100,000, you will find a way.
Yeah. If you don't think I have my own private seaplane, then you are off your rocker because I definitely do. A few other programming notes. We'll try to do a few more of these during the NFL playoffs. I got some crypto videos coming down the pike. That's right. We're going to be talking Bitcoin, all that good stuff that you guys just eat up. We'll also have some poker videos, like I said, going to be in Vegas. If you guys want to come out and play some poker, follow my Twitter for updates. But for Pete Manzanelli, for Eric Balkman, for the FFPC Playoff Challenge, I am Pete Manzanelli. Get paid, get laid.